God bless everyone who is viewing this live with us. We are so happy you have joined Life Source Youth Church Virtual. This is a virtual screen behind me, and you are our virtual audience. Thank you so much for joining us. Now, if this is your first time with us, or maybe this is your second, we would love to invite you to join us for our series that we are beginning today, there we go. So this is the Zoom information that you can join us with. If you are 7th through college students, this is how you can join us. We would love to see you there. This is the Zoom information is 349-340-99202, and the password is youth with a capital Y. It's going to be our series from December to January of 2021. As I said, all college students to 7th grade are invited to hear the testimonies of missionary trips that I was able to be blessed to attend. We would love to see you there. This would be at 10:30 Central Eastern Time. So if you are in another area of the world, you have to try to figure out what that timing is. Now, if you are not in this age bracket, it's okay. We're not excluding you. We want you to see our premiere every Sunday at 12. During this time, we are doing virtual because unfortunately our church has experienced a devastating flood, in which you can definitely be praying for Life Source Church in West Orange, New Jersey, who has experienced this terrible thing, but we know and believe will turn out for our good and into a blessing. So thank you again for joining us. So we're going to get right into today's message, which has to do with my missionaries trip that I was able to go to Puerto Rico. So we're going to be starting off with the better understanding as to what happened, what got me there, what was the whole story behind this. So I will be sharing my screens so that you can see about Hurricane Maria. Puerto Rico experienced Hurricane Maria in 2017. It was a very hard and terrible time for this poor small island that is a part of the United States, which some people do not know, but it is a part of the United States. So the United States was suffering alongside our beautiful land of Puerto Rico. For those who don't know, I am a proud Puerto Rican. I just wanted to add that in. So please enjoy this news screen of what happened.
The first pictures now coming in from Puerto Rico after taking a direct hit. Hurricane Maria slamming into the island, and as you heard, one official saying the island is destroyed. Maria is the first Category 4 to hit there in nearly a century. 150-mile-an-hour winds ripping buildings apart, knocking out power everywhere. All of the electricity is out tonight. People ordered to stay inside until at least tomorrow, amid fears of more massive flooding to come. And the satellite image tonight showing Maria's massive size, dwarfing the island. No part of it was spared. ABC's Victor Akendo leading us off from San Juan tonight.
Tonight, Maria's direct hit devastating Puerto Rico. The first Category 4 storm to strike Puerto Rico in 85 years, slamming ashore around sunrise.
We are back here on the northern side of San Juan here. I can only imagine what went down when this thing made landfall in the southeast corner of this island. Obviously, the eye getting closer and closer to us. That eye wall now scraping the northern beaches here.
Roofs peeled from buildings, debris flying. Structures collapsing. Up to 30 inches of rain in some areas, engulfing whole neighborhoods. Michelle Torres using everything she can to keep the water out.
The wind howls and screeches, the doors rattle.
We are outside of San Juan in the town of Guaynabo. It was hit very hard. A lot of destruction to homes, down trees and power lines as well. And now they're dealing with this, flooding in every direction. The emergency management director saying the entire island is destroyed. Many of these homes not built to withstand any hurricane, let alone a Category 4.
But the hurricane came and took my house.
Is it all wind damage? Is that what happened here?
Wind damage.
Hospitals damaged, running on generator power. We're standing on one of the busiest thoroughfares in all of San Juan, Puerto Rico, the John F. Kennedy Expressway. Not a single car in sight. We're the only ones out here. Emergency management now confirms 100% of Puerto Rico now without power. Everywhere you look, down power lines like these, which stretch right across the expressway. 12,000 people heeding the call to get to shelters, including our hotel's ballroom. Evacuees moved off this arena floor due to safety concerns. The howling wind piercing the darkness. Terrified residents singing about strength during trying times to ease the fear. David, you can see the damage right here behind me. This is what so many streets across San Juan look like tonight. Officials saying many areas will be uninhabitable for weeks, maybe even months. They're urging people to shelter in place. They've issued a curfew, and the governor now saying he is launching search and rescue teams as we speak. David?
Victor Oquendo leading us off from San Juan. Victor, thank you.
Hi, everyone. George Stephanopoulos here. Thanks for checking out the ABC.
So as you can see, due to that devastating hurricane, I was brought to Puerto Rico, but not until 2 years later. During that time of the hurricane, this is what I was going through as I was in college in Texas. And for those who don't know, as I said earlier, I'm Puerto Rican, so I had so many family members that I was not hearing from. So it's unbelievable, because when I looked back at this video that I had posted during that time, I remember wanting to even quit school. I was just like, I need to be with my family right now. You know, where I was in school, there wasn't really a lot of Puerto Ricans, so everything was just normal. Like, everything was going, class, nobody was freaking out, like, hello, like one of our, one of the places in the United States is completely wiped out, like, let's all scream and like cry and be like, and oh my goodness, my home in New Jersey was like a funeral. Everyone, I was hearing about everyone freaking out, everybody crying, everyone, like if everyone had died. And it was crazy because I didn't end up hearing from my grandfather, who am I very, very close to, till almost a month later. And by this time, everyone had already heard from family members in Puerto Rico. And I remember just a week prior to me hearing from my grandfather, one person who was Puerto Rican in my college had heard from their family, and they had heard that they had passed. So I was like, oh my goodness, like, you could only imagine what I was going through. But in this video, you can see how the power of God's peace can move in a person's life. So I hope you enjoy this. This was a written song by me, Elizabeth Gonzalez, during this crazy time of waiting to hear from my family.
All right, worshipers of Jesus Christ, you don't know this song, but it doesn't mean you can't worship along. And it's kind of corny, but I hope it makes you just feel His presence that brings strength and peace. Lord God, I lift up every worry that I hold. Oh God, I give you every struggle that I know. Oh Lord God, I know that as I worship you, you know everything in my heart that needs to grow. So Jesus, I ask of you, Lord God, that you would take control and make me into the spirit with whom you it's kind of short. And you're probably wondering.
All right. Thank you for listening. So, of course, during that crazy time, the only thing that can prove how I was able to maintain my sanity was the goodness of God, His mercies, His love, and His ability to be there for His people. So now we are in Puerto Rico, this beautiful, wonderful land. But of course, after the hurricane, it was experiencing not the best of conditions. So little did I know, 2 years later, the Lord preparing my heart during the anxiety, during the pain of that time of waiting, He was just preparing me to come to this home, which we were able to help during this hurricane. But before we get into that, I want to share the Bible verse that God used to minister to me before going onto this trip, which is found in Isaiah chapter 43, verse 18 through 21. So Isaiah 43, verse 18 through 21. Now, this was like the anthem as I was preparing to go on this trip. As I said, I had no idea that my school would be offering 2 years later after the hurricane the opportunity for me to serve in hurricane relief. And it goes to show the massive amount of damage that was taking place in Puerto Rico, that 2 years later, there was still things that needed to be done. So let me read for you Isaiah chapter 43, verse 18 through 21. Forget the former things. Do not dwell on the past. See, I am doing a new thing. Now it springs up. Do you not perceive it? I am making a way in the desert and streams in the wasteland. The wild animals honor me, and the jackals and owls, because I provide water in the desert and streams in the wastelands, to give drink to my people, my chosen people, the people I formed for myself, that they may proclaim my praises. So as I was getting ready for this trip, this is months prior to finding out that I can go, everything like this, and God kept bringing me back to this verse, and he was showing me, he was like, this is how the Puerto Rican people feel. They feel as if they're in a dry desert that has wasted away with no value left in it. But I'm telling you that I'm doing a new thing in Puerto Rico. They do not perceive it. That's what this word says. This is what it says. They don't perceive it. That means that they don't understand. They don't realize what's happening. But I am pouring out streams in the deserts. I'm pouring out my spirit onto the desert. I am making life once again. Even the animals understand what I'm doing. And I'm doing it for my chosen people. So with this verse, I'm going to ask this question. And this is only for those who want to share. You can all choose to not share, and it's fine. And I'll just keep sharing. But has there ever been a time that you have felt in a desert place? Has there been a time in your life where you're like, man, like, I really just need the streams of the Lord to touch me? You know what? Nothing is going right. Nothing is happening for me. And if you want to share, understanding that this is broadcast, that this is public, that your face would be shown, that your voice would be seen, you're welcome to share right now. You're welcome to unmute your screen and share with us a time that you were feeling like you were in a desert place. And you can share with us how the Lord streamed out his mercies on you, streamed out his water, onto you. Now, that's only if you want to share. I'll give a few minutes to those who might want to. If not, it's totally fine. But just during this time, those who are viewing live, just that you would be asking yourself to be brought back to that moment where you felt, oh my goodness, like I'm in a desert place. Nothing is going for me right now. So I'm going to talk to you about a time where, I felt that way. As God was preparing me to go to Puerto Rico, I was definitely feeling this verse. I was definitely feeling like I was in a desert place. I was in college and I had just found out that I wouldn't have enough money to afford my diploma. So even though I was going to be graduating, I wouldn't have the paper saying that I graduated. Yet that was something that I had worked so hard for. I had worked, 7 years of my life, in different universities and whatnot, but working towards my bachelor's degree. And it was just devastating for me, that I didn't have enough money to be able to show that I have finished the race. So I had felt like I was in a desert season, yet the Lord was still calling me to work for him, to still be his hands and feet, even feeling like if I was in a dry season. So this leads me to my second question. And you could choose again to participate, you don't have to. And that's, can God still use somebody in a desert season? In a time where one is emotionally distraught, one is emotionally down, one is emotionally going through pain, one is emotionally going through a desert time in their life. So let me paint how this might look for you. Maybe somebody in your family has just passed, and there's just no way that you experience those kinds of things without feeling like you're in a desert place, because you love that person, you care for that person. So now you're walking in your dry desert place. Maybe, I would say that almost everyone in 2020 is experiencing some kind of desert because, you know, you're forced virtual. You can't hug the people that you love. You can't see the friends that you want to see. You hear constantly of people getting sick, people dying, and you feel like, goodness, I'm walking in a desert place. How can God possibly right now want me to be his hands and his feet? How? So the question is, can you still be his hands and feet, though being in a desert? Does anyone want to answer? Can you still be his hands and feet while in a desert? Well, I hope that if you haven't answered this question physically, you've answered it mentally, and the answer is yes. He is calling us to be fruitful in every season. And sometimes that's still a dry season in our life. It's still a hard time in our life. But he's saying to us, you still need to be my hands. You still need to be my feet on this earth. So even with holding that on my shoulders, God started telling me, I need you to pray streams to come out into the wastelands of Puerto Rico. So this is what I began to pray about, and I began to reach out to people, and I said, I'm going to Puerto Rico. If you're not able to support me financially for this trip, please, I ask you that you would pray that the deserts of Puerto Rico would pour out streams. That the condition that they're feeling right now of sorrow, of anguish, of destruction, of wasteland, that they would see that God's streams are pouring into their island. And that's exactly what God ended up doing. So behind me is the house that we were able to work on in Puerto Rico. And I want to give you a little bit more of an insight as to the conditions that this poor place had to experience. But I need you to also understand that this was the conditions of all of the houses in that area. They may have been fine from the outside because, I mean, really all you see is, okay, the house has a roof on its head. The walls are still there. There's just this pile of of garbage, on the front of their lawn. But I mean, it looks pretty good, right? But on the inside, all of that is what was coming out. So I'm going to show you. I'm going to share my screen, and I'm going to show you images of that. Okay, so this gives you a better understanding as to how the house looked on the inside. As you can see, all of the walls were peeling off. I did this, to really show the extreme condition of how this house was, that you were just able to just peel off like chunks of the wall of the paint just coming off. So we had to scrape manually, just by hand, all of this from the ceiling to the sides. But the thing with our situation was, it was desperate. We had just 2 weeks to transform this whole house, or this poor woman who was the mother of 3 beautiful girls was going to lose her children. I am not making this up. She was getting in trouble by, human services, child services, for having a space that was considered unlivable. This is a single mother, trying to raise her 3 kids, who now were struggling with asthma and respiratory issues due to the condition of their home. So when we're scraping this stuff, we are having to wear masks. It's funny because now we're all wearing masks, but there it was truly hard because there was no air conditioning in the house. And those who know, Puerto Rico is very hot. And we had to work. And I remember one day working, just trying to go as fast as possible, because we only had a few days left before, they were gonna officially do an inspection on the home. And if this home was considered unlivable, her children would be taken away. And it's crazy because we think a loving mother who loves her children dearly, nothing is wrong with her, but she couldn't help the hurricane. She couldn't help it. And because of something she couldn't help, her home was destroyed and she had no money to give to make it better again. And due to a condition like that she couldn't control, she would have the one thing that she does have taken away from her. And it was insane because when we were doing this, I mean, we even saw roaches, we saw fire ants, I mean, spider webs, everything. And it had nothing to do with her. It's just that because of the roofing being so affected, these animals were so easily able to access into the home that, it was just inevitable to prevent. And as you can see in this picture, this was the team that I was able to go with. This is where we stayed. For those who can't read Spanish, it says Assemblies of God, District of Puerto Rico. And you can see that even the place that we were staying at, which was a building, and you know how corporations and buildings are supposed to look so prime and proper, but them too were peeling on the inside and the out. And you could see this funny picture here of me standing on the rubble. And it was because after we were scraping, we would have to scrape into buckets, and those buckets were then dumped outside. And it just goes to show that this huge pile here was just the little scrapes of paint. So when you come to that perspective that these aren't chunks of stuff, these are just scrapings of paint that were able to make this huge pile. And though I didn't get to share this image with you guys, but I mean, when we were done, praise the Lord, we were finished in time, praise God. All of the rooms in the house were painted and were considered livable. Praise the Lord. But there was a desperation in that situation. This woman needed her stream of water, and she needed it now. It wasn't something that could wait. God couldn't wait. It had to be done now. And I still look back and I say, man, if we wouldn't have been able to come, this woman would have lost her children. It's amazing what can happen if you say yes. I'll tell you, while we were preparing to go onto this missionaries trip, there was a huge possibility that our trip was going to be canceled. We were all struggling to raise the money up. And I remember it was the day before the money was due. The day before. Like, God couldn't be more on time because it's the last day. I remember it was the very last day. And I reached out to somebody and they're like, oh yeah, okay, come to my church. And oh my goodness, donations, a huge donation came from that. People from New Jersey were reaching out to me. Oh my goodness. But it was that one last day that reached us to what we needed for us, a team, for us to go. One last day. Just one last day. And I tell you, what could have happened if the attitude of my leaders, because I wasn't the leader of this trip, it was these other two people that went with me. Their names were Merman and Yvette. Amazing. They did a phenomenal job. But I mean, what would have happened if they would have said, man, we didn't get to raise the money, so I guess that's it. We're gonna have to tell the group that we can't go. That's it. Like, this person would have lost their kids. We didn't know the urgency going in. We're just saying, God, I'm willing to be your hands and feet here. God, I'm willing to do here what you need me to do. God, I am willing to pour out the streams that you have given me so I can pour out into others. And the thing of the matter is that you don't know what desert somebody is going through. This is what it comes down to. We had no idea. We just were like, okay, God, you told me to go to Puerto Rico, I'm going. And that was 5 of us. They're like, okay, God, we're going. Oh, okay, God, yeah, we'll go. Okay, God, we'll do it. But we didn't know the urgency. We're just thinking, oh, we're gonna help make a house go back to being livable. That's all. These people have just been living like this for 2 years. So you're thinking, oh, the urgency isn't so bad. If they live 2 years, they can live another. No, it needed to be done now, or there would be strict consequences that would affect a family. And the thing of the matter is that when you say yes to God, yes to being the streams and the wastelands for the Lord, you have no idea the stream that you are providing for somebody in their desert when you're saying, yes, God, I will be your hands and feet. You might be experiencing a desert time in your life where you yourself are saying, God, I need a freshness of your spirit to enter into me. Like, God, I am tired of 2020. God, I'm tired of virtual. God, I'm tired of this. And I'm emotionally just done. I am walking through a desert. How can you expect me to give anything? I feel like I have none. But with the Holy Spirit, with God, you always have something to give. You always have some stream of water to offer because He is the living water that lives within us. So this, as I'm going into a conclusion, I want you guys to be asking yourselves, even in this 2020 year, how can I be the stream of water that somebody desperately needs in their desert season? Sometimes this can be just a phone call to your grandparents. Sometimes this can be just while you're going to the park, even though you have to wear your mask and do all of these regulations. It is just you having a positive spirit as you're outside. Just the other day I was at work and I was passing somebody because for those who don't know, I'm a nanny. and somebody was passing me by, socially distanced. You know, they were on the other side of the street. And they were like, "Oh, hello," you know, and I was like, "Oh, hello," you know. Oh, because they have seen me before working there and all that stuff. And it had come up somehow that I was a youth minister, and they said to me, "You know what? I just knew that you were a Christian. There was something about your spirit the second I met you." We have to become the kind of Christians that just when we're walking into a room, walking to a place, the atmosphere changes. And you know how you can get there? Through prayer. Before we went to Puerto Rico, we were praying. I was saying, "God, there be streams pouring out in the wastelands." What I didn't know is that we would be those streams. That us being the hands and the feet of Jesus there, we were the streams these people needed. That was how simple it was. That we were providing that stream. That the Lord was using us to be that stream to the people. So there is many ways that even in our 2020 year of being quarantined, you can be a stream. You can be his hands and feet. And that's just what this whole series is about. Being his hands and his feet. So, oops. Oh, I almost canceled us. I almost just ended the whole chat. So while I was there, I looking back, I think God has helped me to learn how to be a little bit more humble, but I still was growing in my faith. we still have our moments where we're growing in our faith. And one of the pastors there, while we were in Puerto Rico, he started, putting down the generation that, I'm a part of. He was like, "No people in this generation even know the books of the Bible." And I was like, "Excuse me? Like, I'm a church Bible major. Let me just do this rap for you." So here it goes. I hope you enjoy this. And I'm going to be doing it just like I did it in Puerto Rico, where we were in a restaurant. You see, there's still a little bit of ghetto-ness in me that the Lord still needs to deal with. I did this in the middle of a restaurant, and I had the team that I was with, I had them banging on plates and spoons, and we were doing this. So here's the beautiful view of another area of Puerto Rico while I do this rap for you guys as you enjoy this. Let me put my hood up and everything so that we can get into the rapping mood. All right, are you ready for this? Are you ready for this? Who's ready for this? Okay. All right. Sorry, my hair is in my face. Whew. All right. Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, Deuteronomy, Joshua, Judges. I tell you the truth about the book of Ruth, on to 1st and 2nd Samuel, 1st and 2nd Kings, 1st and 2nd Chronicles, and all those things lead to Ezra, Nehemiah, Esther, and Job. I want to go to heaven in a righteous robe, singing Psalms, Proverbs, Ecclesiastes, Psalms of Solomon, the prophets are these. Isaiah, Jeremiah, and Jay's the men. Ezekiel, then Daniel, to the lions went. Hosea, Joel, Amos, tell. Obadiah, Jonah, and the belly of the whale. Micah, Nahum, and Habakkuk's cry. Zephaniah, Haggai, then Zechariah, and the last Old Testament book revealed that Malachi points to a brand new deal. Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, Deuteronomy, Joshua, Judges. I tell you the truth about the book of Ruth, unto 1st and 2nd Samuel, 1st and 2nd Kings, 1st and 2nd Chronicles, and all those things lead to Ezra, Nehemiah, Esther, and Job. I want to go to heaven in a righteous robe, singing Psalms, Proverbs, Ecclesiastes, Psalms of Solomon. The prophets are these: Isaiah, Jeremiah, and Jay's the man. Ezekiel, then Daniel to the lion's den. Hosea, Joel, Amos, tell. Obadiah, Jonah, and the belly of the whale. Micah, Nahum, and Habakkuk's cry. Zephaniah, Haggai, then Zechariah, and the last Old Testament book revealed that Malachi points to a brand new deal. Woo! Thank you. It was extremely hard. All right, well, that concludes our time together. And if there is anyone who is thank you. Now, if there's any one of us who's looking here on the live, and says, oh my goodness, I was really moved by what Puerto Rico is still going through years later, you are able to be a part of this. If you want to, am I sharing the screen? You can be a part of this, and this is how you can help. You're saying, how can I help Puerto Rico to continue to recover for Hurricane Maria, though it's years later? When I was there, I was still shocked by some lampposts being down, some parks still being closed because trees were down and gates, fences were down. This is the person you can reach out to. Due to COVID, they are putting a lot of their work on pause. I know that most of the workers have become part-time just because of what's happening. But this is somebody you can reach out to, you can prayer partner with. He is a pastor in Puerto Rico, and that's who we worked with. And he is somebody who is constantly sending out teams to different homes, not asking for any money from these homeowners. He is just sending out workers to individual homes, one house at a time, and he is helping them recover from these hurricanes. So if you have that in your heart, you want to reach out to him and just say, how can I pray for you? Like, I can't go to Puerto Rico or something. How can I pray for you? You reach out to Pastor Herbert. I'm not 100% sure how to say his last name. Pizarro. I know I'm supposed to be Spanish, but you know, this gringa here, right? Which means I just really don't speak Spanish. All right. Well, God bless you, and we'll be ending the recording for today. But for those who are, you know, our youth, you're welcome to stay as we fellowship with one another. Thank you again for being a part of this. God bless you. Bye-bye.